So welcome you once again to my channel. Hope you would like this video also on the electrochemistry topic. You will definitely like it, share it and comment it too. So once again welcome you all. So we were discussing in my last video, we were discussing about the electrochemistry, right? Now dear friends, today we are going to discuss about the electrical conductance in brief and the basic theories behind the electrical conductance. As and again I have discussed in earlier also that the electrical conductance is basically it is occurred or it is due to only and only the presence of free electrons. So basically the electricity is the continuous non-stop resistance-less flow of electrons is called as electricity, right? Now this conductance, it is denoted by capital C. The conductance C is nothing but the capacity of a conductor to flow the electrons through it. Right? Now we all know that there are two types of basic conductors, the good conductors of electricity as well as the bad conductors of electricity. Bad conductors of electricity, all of we know, rubber, plastic, glass, wood, wool, etc. The best good conductor of electricity, as all of we know that the metals are the good conductors of electricity. Now, why the metals are the best conductors of electricity it is chosen? It is because the basic reason behind it is that all the metals always undergo the process of losing out the electrons constantly. And this is a natural process that is being continuously going on immediately after extraction of the metals from their ores. Because in nature or on the earth's crust, all the metals exist in their ore form. So they are very comfortable with their ore form. That is their natural state, right? Basically they are very stable in their natural state of the ores, right? And when the mankind, for its use, for its various application, it extracts out the metals from their ores, immediately they come to the artificial state. We say that metal exists in nature in the free state, they doesn't. But when we bring them out or extract them out from their ores, immediately they come to their unstable state. And all the metals show the tendency to lose out the electrons, to give out the electrons. This is a natural tendency. Each and every metal shows a natural tendency to give up the electrons, right? And this tendency of giving out the electrons differs from metal to metal. And the process of giving out the electrons is nothing but the process of oxidation. And so, dear friends, each and every metal shows a natural tendency to undergo oxidation, right? And this oxidation tendency of every metal goes on changing from metal to metal. Every metal shows the different oxidation potential. Now this term again we are going to discuss in my next videos. Due to the process of giving out the electrons, certain potential gets developed, certain charge get develops over the surface of the metal, and this is nothing but the potential, right? We will discuss it later on in the coming up the videos, right? So the electrical conductance is basically nothing but the flow of electrons from the metal through the conducting solution, right? Now what is this conducting solution? So dear friends, unless and until the metal comes in contact with the aqueous medium or their own conducting solution, they are not able to conduct the electricity. So this is basic concept that each and every metal as I told you just now that when they get extracted out from their ore, natural ore state, they comes in contact with the atmospheric moisture, and due to their interaction with the atmospheric moisture, they show a natural tendency to undergo the oxidation by losing out the electrons. Clear to everyone? Now, the basic concept, that is the basic theory that lies behind the conductance of the metals is the Arrhenius theory, right? We will just in brief come to the postulates one by one of this Arrhenius theory for the electrical conductance. Now this Arrhenius, what does this Arrhenius theory says there? The first postulate of Arrhenius theory says that when two electrodes, when two metal rods, when they are kept in the contact with their own conducting solution or the moisture, they lose out electrons and get converted themselves into their ions, right? So Arrhenius theory first says that whenever any electrolyte is dissolved into water, it gets dissociated or ionized into the ions, right? So this is the first postulate of the Arrhenius theory, that electrolytes when dissolved into water, they get dissociated into ions, their respective ions. There are two types of ions, we all know that, cations and anions. Positively charged ions are called as cations, negatively charged ions are called as anions, right? And when the two metals, with respect to difference in their the oxidation tendencies, when they are connected externally as well as internally, in the presence of the external electric field, these ions, they get migrated or get attracted towards the oppositely charged metal rods, right? So the metal rods, when they are kept in contact with their own conducting solution, as they develop some charge, they are called as the electrodes. So there are two types of electrodes, positive and the negative electrode. The one which shows more tendency to undergo the oxidation are obviously the positively charged electrode, and it is called as anode, right? The one which shows lesser tendency to undergo oxidation when both connected with each other, another one, the one which shows lesser tendency to undergo oxidation, that is called as the cathode. So anode shows more tendency to undergo oxidation obviously, while the cathode shows lesser tendency to undergo oxidation, and rather on the other hand, the cathode shows more tendency to undergo the reduction. So on the contrary, the reduction is nothing but the gain of electrons. To accept the electrons that are lost by the anode, that get accepted by the cathode, and that is called as the electrode which accept the electrons that are lost by the anode are called as a cathode. So obviously cathode is negatively charged and anode is obviously positively charged. So always keep in mind that on the anode always oxidation occurs. Clear? Now, so this forms the first postulate of the Arrhenius theory. Second postulate of Arrhenius theory says that these ionization, that is immediately when the electrolyte is dissolved into the water or in the aqueous medium, the ions which are formed, the ions, they get ionized, and ionization becomes, the process of ionization is a spontaneous process, right? So even though it is a spontaneous process, there exists an equilibrium between the undissociated molecules and the dissociated or the ionized molecules, right? Now always keep in mind that 100% ionization is not achieved at all, right? It depends again upon the extent of or the capacity of the electrolyte to undergo the ionization. And depending upon the capacity of the ionization, these electrolytes are divided again into two types. This is the third postulate of the Arrhenius theory. It says that there are two types of electrolytes, strong electrolyte and a weak electrolyte, right? Now, the extent of the capacity to undergo the dissociation is called as the degree of dissociation. So, depending upon, the degree of dissociation is the fourth postulate of the Arrhenius theory, right? Now, one by one we will discuss it again, that the degree of dissociation can never be equal to 1. Why? Because degree of dissociation is obviously a ratio between the dissociated molecules with that of the undissociated molecules. As and when I am telling you again and again, it is not at all possible in any conditions, under any conditions, it is not possible to get converted all the undissociated molecule into the dissociated molecule. Never 100% dissociation is achieved, right? So, the types of electrolytes, two types of electrolytes, strong electrolytes are defined by the Arrhenius as those electrolytes which undergo to a dissociation to a very extreme extent or to a very large extent when they are dissolved into the water. When the electrolytes are dissolved into water, if the maximum of the dissociation is achieved or maximum ionization is achieved, such electrolytes are named as the strong electrolytes by the Arrhenius. On the contrary, the electrolytes when dissolved into water, if undergoes to ionization to a weaker extent or a lesser extent, such electrolytes are named as the weak electrolytes by Arrhenius. And this Arrhenius theory has been put forwarded and has been applied today till now, right? There are limitations to the Arrhenius theory also, but are very less, right? First the limitation to the Arrhenius theory is that it requires only the aqueous medium. Non-aqueous medium, it is failed to explain the ionization in the non-aqueous medium too, right? So, second one is that the second limitation to the Arrhenius theory is that the number of ions that are produced, that number of ions produced is not been explained by the Arrhenius theory. Third is that it tells us that the equivalent conductance or the conductivity of these electrolytes that depends directly upon the charge of the ions. It also depends upon the ionic speed, that the speed that is achieved by the ions for the migration, the ionic speed, as well as the number of the ions produced in the solution. So these are the limitations of the Arrhenius theory, even though it is widely accepted till today, and on the basis of Arrhenius theory only the complete electrochemistry is based, right? So conductance of the metals takes place only on the basis of the Arrhenius theory, dear friends, right? I hope you must have understood the Arrhenius theory properly. Let us now just discuss in brief about the definitions of oxidation and reduction. I will repeat it again. Oxidation can be defined as the process in which there is always loss of electron occur, while the reduction is the process in which there is always gain of electrons occurs, obviously by the metals, right? So the oxidation is the tendency shown by each and every metal as a natural tendency. Clear to everyone? So I hope we will stop over here with the Arrhenius theory. As we have will just revise once again in brief the points of the Arrhenius theory or the postulates given in the Arrhenius theory. First is the ionization occurs of the electrolytes when dissolved in the aqueous medium, right? Second is there is always extent of the ionization that depends upon the type of electrolyte, maybe a strong electrolyte, maybe a weak electrolyte. Then third one is the degree of dissociation, that is the degree of dissociation which is denoted by alpha. It is given as the ratio of the total number of dissociated molecule with that of the undissociated molecule. So in brief we can also define alpha as alpha is equal to the ratio of the number of dissociated molecules or ionized molecules upon the total number of undissociated molecules, right? So this is the degree of dissociation. And Arrhenius again have told us that the alpha can never be equal to 1. This is important point that has been put forwarded by Arrhenius theory. And this is very true that never 100% ionization is achieved in any case by any type of electrolyte, right? So in my next video again I am going to discuss you in brief about the types of electrolytes, as the a brief definition is given by Arrhenius as that the strong electrolytes are those electrolytes which undergoes ionization to a very larger extent, while the weak electrolytes are those electrolytes which undergoes the ionization to a very poorer extent, right? Once again I am going to repeat this point in my next video. Hope you will all will be in touch with me and will watch the next video too, so that we are in continuity. You will get all the points clear more and more. I hope you must have liked this video. Don't forget to like it, share it and subscribe it. Thank you all. Thank you again.